warnings over in Oklahoma so far, but northeast Kansas so far hasn't had any tornado warnings or severe storm warnings yet. We will. It's coming. So to the south, this area that's in kind of the pink purple here is the Storm Prediction Center risk area for severe weather today. It's not necessarily just for tornadoes, but this is not something you see very often. They have a level 5 out of 5, or a high risk by their standards, and it's the first one we've seen in Kansas anywhere in the whole state in 7 years. So the risk tapers off to still extremely high, and still high northeast Kansas too. It's just the bullseye, the peak of the risk, the worst in 7 years, is the stuff from Wichita to Oklahoma City. So northeast Kansas, we're considered to be in the enhanced risk from the Storm Prediction Center. They also mentioned that we have a 10% risk of tornadoes. That's a very significant number. We've had big problems on days with 5%. I've seen tornado warnings several times when it's 2%, the green area. So once again, these higher levels, the risk of seeing tornado warnings is much more significant. And you don't see the Storm Prediction Center folks just throwing out a 10% area and say, just cover a state with it, call it good. They take a lot of time analyzing where they think that they're going to have tornadoes occurring. This area with the black hash marks here indicates they think that F2 to F5 or EF2 to EF5 tornadoes are a possibility. Again, they have to verify after an event how well they did. So this is not just some vague thing that somebody just drew. They said, okay, Oklahoma City, and then spread it out from there. They take very seriously where they think this risk is going to be. So by putting those black hash marks over us, that means they have a significant concern of us having tornadoes or even a big tornado. 80-mile-per-hour winds have been mentioned in the storm prediction outlooks and from the National Weather Service. This area of black hash marks is what that is. And what we generally see is a tornado risk, and then downstream, the highest of the severe wind risk. So wherever you see the worst tornadoes is where they're looking at from Wichita to Oklahoma City, at least statistically. And then downstream is why this bullseye of a 45% area of severe wind risk. That's a really rare thing to see. You don't see numbers like that in these SPC outlooks unless it's just a rain chance, but a 45% risk of damaging winds is very, very rare. All right, so watching live from Concordia now, we have rain moving in. This storm is not severe, at least not at last check. I'm watching the southwest of Emporia. That's where storms will be coming from the Wichita area this evening as well. And temperatures continue to climb into the mid-70s from Topeka to Burlington at this time. Plenty of moisture. The humidity is extremely high. Dry lines in central Kansas. The storms will be forming near the dry line and marching eastward through the evening. So again, tornado watch for all of northeast Kansas all the way until 11 p.m. We'll see if the threat lasts that long, but it certainly could. The most dangerous storms we have right now are these, and they are not in the WIBW viewing region just yet. But this storm that's getting, let's see where we have this now, getting into the southwest part of McPherson County has 70-mile-per-hour winds possible with it, and hail about the size of a ping pong ball is what they're mentioning for this as well. I'm going to zoom back out on it, and we'll check out the velocity on this, because that storm, if it continues, is moving into an area where the atmosphere is really primed to rotate. Some of the modeling I was looking at had what's called the STP, or significant tornado parameter, is getting close to 6 in this there. The scale really goes to 12. You generally don't see anything above 10. 10 is really high, but right south of Salina and Abilene, it's a 6. It's the highest bullseye of that value that exists. So these storms, as they get into the WIBW viewing area, that particular batch is the one that I am most concerned about at this moment. And these have been showing some signs of spin, not enough to get a tornado warning just yet. And I can tell you, no doubt, there are lots and lots of storm chasers out there with all kinds of bells and whistles and different weird-looking cars that are all over these. So if one of these things produces a funnel cloud, you'll have probably 50 people hollering at their National Weather Service. They see it and dropping pictures and video everywhere, of course. So right now, we're seeing some spin in that near Highway 56 coming into McPherson County, and I wouldn't be surprised to see a tornado warning get dropped on this once we get into Marion, Dickinson, or Gary. They're a real possibility, as these do have that supercellular structure look to them. And we certainly see tornado warnings drop with that stuff anytime as it makes its way to the northeast. So Gary, Dickinson, Marion, Morris, and not as much Morris, more Gary, Dickinson, Clay. If you're watching this, it starts turning right, which sometimes it do when they become a bit stronger. You could be in Morris County soon, but you can see the line of storms taking shape now. with the individual cells really kind of lined up down this. Now, if they form one nice line, like if you take a red marker and just drew down through here, and it's all a big red line and kind of tapers off in the middle, then you have less of a tornado threat a lot of times. But if they stay out individually like this, like they are so far, the risk is more significant. So down in Oklahoma, this is where the high risk is, up to Wichita, and you can see these look even more like individual cells, just a red dot. And if they can stay like that, they can rotate even more effectively. So on Supercast, this is the HRRR model, and this came out just after noon today. This is when the latest data on this would have ingested. It comes out every hour, but most of the fresh data gets into it just after noon. And you can see the storms getting to Clay Center around 7, Marysville just about maybe 8 o'clock, Manhattan 8 o'clock as well, and we'll get into Topeka by between 8 o'clock and 10. There will be severe storms in this. There are very likely to be tornado warnings in this. And again, we could see a tornado touchdown, even a large tornado is a possibility, according to the watch and the data that are coming out on this. The watch goes to 11 p.m. Again, we don't have any tornadoes right now. There's no tornado warning in northeast Kansas. There are no severe storm warnings I'm aware of at this point. At any moment, that could change as the activity starts coming out of the Wichita area and starts getting into Dickinson, Gary, Morris, maybe Clay County. That's when it becomes more of a problem of something that we'll be on TV with continuously if we get there. But right now, it's not here. So it's the timing on it's working out correctly so far. So I'll back up. I'll go back to these graphics one more time, and then we'll end the live stream, and then we'll be back on TV at 6, and then after the 6 o'clock news, from about 6:40 all the way until this thing is done, I anticipate we'll probably be on with this either on the stream or probably on TV as well if we start to get these things spinning. All right, where is that at? Okay, so we had a funnel cloud earlier near Great Bend, and know that so far. But here we have the risk. That's the maximum risk area that the Storm Prediction Center will put out. This area right here. It goes from Wichita to Oklahoma City. This is the first time we've seen a high risk, is what the Storm Prediction Center calls it. You can call it level 5 at a 5 if you want to. Marginal being 1, enhanced 3, moderate 4, high is 5. So this pink area is the highest risk they'll put out. This is the first time since 2017 that any part of Kansas has been in a high risk. And it's not they put out 10 of these a year in Oklahoma. There are some years we don't have a high risk anywhere in the United States. I believe that 2021 and 2023 didn't have high risks at all. It's somewhat rare. You may see a year that has 3 of them, or many years have none of them. But you won't have a dozen of these a year. That just doesn't happen. So this risk tapering off to the enhanced in Topeka, northeast Kansas, doesn't mean that we're out of the risk. The higher values to our south don't mean we don't have a significant danger here. And these areas of yellow, the 10% risk of tornadoes from SPC, that's significant. These black hash marks indicate, they say that EF2 to EF5 tornadoes are a possibility. We also have the risk of seeing winds 80 miles per hour with severe storms. So it's not just a tornado risk. We're also looking at the danger of seeing the winds that could be as high as 80 miles per hour, even with storms that are not considered tornadic. It's just straight line winds. Like last summer, we had 4 rounds of winds like that in July and August that tore in every branch you could find on some of the trees, and it took months to clean all that up. From Concordia, I'm looking to the south. You can see rain moving in now. This is not a severe storm. It's likely to be, you'll have severe weather later. Here's a live look from the Emporia cam provided by ValleyNet Fiber. Have it pointed southwest toward the Wichita area. That's the direction the storms will come toward Emporia most likely, unless the stuff that's in McPherson County starts turning right. That's a possibility too. But we're keeping an eye that direction because that's where the storms are most likely to come from. Mid-70s for temperatures for Emporia to Lawrence, and all these dew points are very high. 70 in Wichita, drops off to 34 in Hayes now. The dry line right there where the humidity goes from extremely high to very little, and along the dry lines we tend to see the severe storms developing. So tornado watch till 11 p.m. for everybody in yellow. That's really everybody in northeast Kansas. And I'm watching these storms moving into parts of McPherson and ultimately Saline County. These storms have shown some rotation. It's not enough rotation for them to go with a tornado warning to this point. There's no part in there where the National Weather Service is leaning forward and even saying they're considering it. But that storm is the one that I see as having the greatest potential for causing problems for northeast Kansas. You can see it right here as a warning from McPherson, Reno, Rice with this one, and the saying 70 mile per hour winds are possible. And as it moves northeast, it's going toward areas like probably Gary County, Dickinson County, certainly into areas like Saline County would be wrapped up in this one. And checking out the velocity, you'll see some rotations. There's a rotation right here, and there's another one kind of bottom storm. There's another rotation right here. So it has multiple areas of spin in here, but there are a lot of storm chasers on this, and if it was to produce a tornado or a funnel cloud or look like it was about to produce a tornado, these people would be making announcements, I'm sure, to the Weather Service, letting them know what's up. So zooming out, that's a severe storm warning, tornado possible. A couple tornado warnings in Oklahoma. They're not confirmed as touching down at this point. I'll check out what's going on down there really quick. We'll zoom in on that and see if we have any wild hook echoes. Some of these storms in Oklahoma are already starting to look particularly nasty, but I have not seen an update of one of these things touching down yet. So right there, there's a very well-defined hook, and the TV stations down there all have helicopters and an army of meteorologists at all of them. But that's a very well-defined hook right here. There's another one there. So in Oklahoma, the area of the high risk, we're seeing the tornadoes beginning to become more obvious. They're at least developing there. It takes a while for these storms a lot of times to go from nothing to thunderstorm to becoming tornadic. They have to kind of build up. Sometimes they're explosive and just go from nothing to tornado in no time, but most cases they take a while to build. So there's 7 p.m. The storms are lined up from Clay Center to Abilene, and by 8 o'clock we're getting close to Manhattan and Topeka by 9, and as we get closer to midnight this is out of here, and we'll have a calm, beautiful day tomorrow with plenty of sunshine. But again, this evening we expect to see quite a few storms. There are going to be a lot of severe storm warnings. I expect to see some tornado warnings out of this. Tornado warnings don't mean tornadoes touch down, but the possibility is there, and the possibility is even there to see a large tornado or two in our area. So that's the big concern, is if we get a big tornado and it goes near or in a town, obviously, that's the biggest of concerns. But we're tracking this. Right now, there's nothing out there that's dangerous. If you're watching me, you don't have to take shelter right now. I'm just asking you to be aware this evening in case we get a nasty storm that erupts and starts churning through part of the WIBW viewing region. So just be aware. This is a significant tornado risk for our area, and if we don't see tornadoes, we're still very, very likely to see wind gusts of 80 miles per hour in many spots. But again, the Storm Prediction Center, their tornado risk for us is this 10% area, and 10% isn't a small thing. You know, a lot of things you may say, a 10% chance of happening, probably fine. 10% from the Storm Prediction Center is something that should concern you. These black hash marks mean they're not just possible, but EF2 to EF5 tornadoes are a possibility. So again, it's a significant risk of dangerous weather in our area. 80 mile per hour winds are possible. I'd say it's likely we'll have a few 80 mile per hour wind reports, or even maybe a bit higher. The storm in Concordia is not severe at this point. The activity off to the southwest that's getting into McPherson County at this point is, and it's the one that concerns me the most at this point, is the storm from McPherson County will likely make its way northeast into areas like Dickinson, maybe Gary, even Clay and Riley counties. I'm going to jump back up to that and show you again that really quick before we end the stream, get ready for the 6 o'clock news. But these storms right through here do have spin to them, coming into McPherson County and heading northeast for areas like Abilene, Clay Center, Manhattan. Fort Riley is in the path of that. Council Grove. Again, I'm not saying tornado right now, but I'm saying if there's a thing I'm watching right now on radar that concerns me the most, it's this stuff right down here that's starting to move into McPherson County and will shortly start moving into areas like Junction City, and Abilene, Clay Center, and Manhattan. Again, we'll cut the live stream off here for now. We'll be on WIBW TV for 13 News at 6. I'll start the live stream again after the 6 o'clock news. We'll go for at least a couple of hours then. Stay with us.